This is story of a billionaire, widely respected, a loving father, and grieving husband, stuns the entire nation by marrying his late wife's younger sister just 1 year after her tragic death. The internet explodes. His family cuts him off. His sons refuse to look him in the eye. Everyone thinks he's gone mad, or worse, that he's betrayed the memory of the woman he once called his soulmate. But what if everything they believed was a lie? What if this controversial marriage wasn't about lust or loneliness, but a hidden promise made in silence, a final wish from the grave, and a dangerous truth waiting to be exposed? This is not just a story of love and grief. It's a haunting tale of loyalty, buried secrets, and a past that refuses to stay buried. Stay with us, because by the end of this story, you'll question everything you thought you knew about love, honor, and destiny. It was a bright Saturday morning in Abuja. The gates of the luxurious Amadi estate swung open to an unusual crowd of reporters, neighbors, and distant relatives. Everyone wanted a glimpse of what was being whispered across the nation, a billionaire's controversial wedding. But this wasn't just any wedding. Chief Uche Amadi, oil magnate and respected philanthropist, had just married the younger sister of his late wife. And the reactions were explosive. Just a year ago, Uche's world had crumbled. His wife of 18 years, Edeora, died in a tragic car accident while returning from a charity outreach. She left behind not only a grieving husband, but also 2 teenage sons, a thriving foundation, and a community that saw her as a beacon of grace. Her death was mourned across the country. But now, barely 12 months later, Uche had shocked everyone by marrying Chioma, Adeora's 28-year-old sister. What kind of man does that? People asked. Has he no shame? Uche's mansion was filled with tension. His sons, Kelechi and Nonso, didn't speak to him for weeks. His in-laws threatened to disown Chioma. Even his closest business partners began distancing themselves. The whispers grew louder. He's lost his mind. She's after his money. Edeora must be turning in her grave. But inside the house, behind closed doors, something else was brewing, something no one outside the family truly understood. Chioma had been hesitant when Uche first approached her. The proposal didn't come with roses or romantic dinners. It came with a letter, written in Adeora's own handwriting. If anything ever happens to me, it read, please don't mourn me too long. Promise me, Uche, that you keep Chioma safe. She's the only one I trust to love our boys like I would. If your heart ever allows, take care of her, for me. That letter had been written 5 years before Adeora's death. Chioma had found it folded neatly inside an old family Bible just weeks after the funeral. When she showed it to Uche, they both broke down. Edeora had known something, perhaps about her health, or perhaps just a mother's instinct. Her words were clear. She didn't want her family to fall apart. Still, Uche had resisted. It felt wrong. Too soon. Too complicated. But grief has a way of revealing truths that are buried under pride, guilt, and pain. As months passed, Chioma became a steady presence. She helped with the boys, ran the foundation, and slowly became the only person who truly understood the weight Uche carried. Now, standing before a sea of judgmental eyes, Uche held her hand with quiet resolve. He wasn't seeking approval. He was honoring a promise. A hidden truth. But as their vows echoed through the marble halls, a shadow lurked on the edge of the celebration, one that threatened to tear open secrets far older than the letter. This marriage wasn't the end of a story. It was just the beginning. The fallout from the wedding was worse than Uche had anticipated. A week after the ceremony, the Amadi mansion felt less like a home and more like a war zone. The boys, Kelechi and Nonso, refused to eat dinner with their father and Chioma. Kelechi, the older son, stormed out after throwing a glass against the wall. She's not our mother. She can never be, he shouted, his voice trembling with both rage and grief. Even the house staff walked on eggshells, whispering in corners and avoiding eye contact. Social media was on fire. Influencers accused Uche of being a predator. Newspapers ran wild headlines: billionaire betrays his late wife, young sister, richer husband. Some sponsors withdrew from his foundation. Rumors spread that he'd been having an affair with Chioma even while Edeora was alive. But in the quiet of their bedroom, Uche and Chioma stayed grounded. "We have to weather the storm," she whispered one night, her eyes red from tears. For Edeora. For the boys. That night, Uche opened a vault in his private study, a place only Edeora had access to. Inside were files, documents, and a diary. Edeora had kept meticulous records. Her writings painted a woman who'd suspected she wouldn't live long. She'd battled a rare heart condition in secret, choosing to keep her illness from her family to spare them worry. The car accident had only expedited what she feared was inevitable. In the pages of her diary, she wrote, "If I die suddenly, they'll think it's random. But it's been coming. Uche will suffer more than anyone. I hope Chioma finds a way to stay. I trust her to protect them all." Uche sat in silence for hours, clutching the leather-bound journal. He finally understood. Edeora hadn't just given her blessing, she'd orchestrated a quiet legacy, one built not just on love, but foresight. Meanwhile, Chioma struggled with her own ghost. She was battling public humiliation, estranged from her own family. Her older brother, Chidi, sent her a scathing voice note: "You were supposed to protect your sister's legacy, not steal her place." Still, she remained. Not out of ambition, but because she felt Adora's spirit everywhere, in the foundation meetings, in the garden where they used to sit and laugh, in the way the boys' voices cracked when they cried. But then came the anonymous letter. Folded neatly and dropped at the estate's gate, it read, "You don't know everything about your sister. Be careful. The truth isn't what you think." The handwriting was shaky, the words rushed, but the threat was clear. Someone from Adora's past, or Uche's, had been watching. Who had sent it? And what didn't they know? Suddenly, the already fragile marriage was no longer about judgment or gossip. It was about survival. About uncovering a truth buried deeper than love, and far more dangerous. 3 days after the anonymous letter arrived, Uche intensified security around the mansion. He knew too well that in his world, wealth, politics, and legacy, no threat could be taken lightly. Yet this one felt personal, almost intimate. Someone knew their secret. But worse still, someone wanted to destroy it. Chioma grew restless. That night, while rummaging through old boxes in Adora's former art studio, a place sealed since her death, she found something chilling. Behind a cracked wooden easel was an old canvas, half-finished, painted in dark hues. But it wasn't the painting that disturbed her. It was the folded photograph tucked behind it. A blurry image of Edeora, in what looked like a hospital hallway, standing beside a man. The man's face had been scratched out, violently. On the back, in Adora's handwriting, "He came back. He said he'd ruin everything." Chioma's hands shook. When she showed Uche the photo, his face went pale. "That's impossible," he muttered. "She told me he was gone." "Who?" Chioma asked. Who did Edeora fear? Uche finally spoke the name, Ton. Ton was Adora's first love. Before Uche. Before the wealth. A charming, manipulative man she had once fled from after years of abuse. Uche had helped her escape that past, using his influence to shield her. Ton had disappeared, supposedly left the country. But now it seemed he had returned, just before her death. Uche clenched his fist. If he's the one behind this. Chioma stopped him. No. We don't know yet. We need to think. Edeora would want us to protect the boys, not cause chaos. The next day, Another letter came. This one was addressed directly to Chioma. It read, "She was going to leave him. You were just the replacement. You think you know her? Think again. Ask Uche about the will." Shaken, Chioma went straight to the family lawyer. After much hesitation, he revealed something she wasn't prepared for. Edeora had altered her will 6 months before her death, naming Chioma as guardian of her sons, not Uche. And more than that, she had left Chioma shares in the family trust. The document had been kept sealed at Uche's request. He said the timing felt too painful to reveal it. Chioma confronted him. "You didn't trust me." "I trusted you," Uche said, his voice hollow. "But I didn't want the world to twist her gift into something ugly. I knew what they'd say, you were after the money. They'd call you a thief, a snake. I was trying to protect your name." Chioma wept. Not from anger, but from a sense of Adeora's deep, intentional love. Her sister had known the world would be cruel. Yet still, she had built a plan, a final act of loyalty. But the question remained, had Edeora really died in an accident? Police reopened the case quietly. The car's brake system had been tampered with. And suddenly, Town was a suspect again. In the end, justice took its time, but it came. Town was tracked down, arrested under a fake identity, and linked to multiple fraud cases. Though the proof of his direct involvement in Adeora's death remained murky, the threat was neutralized. Uche and Chioma never had a perfect life, but they built a quiet one, full of truth, transparency, and healing. The world never stopped judging them. But they had each other. And the boys. In time, they forgave. Because love isn't always clean. Sometimes, it is shaped by grief, sealed by promises, and tested by fire. Sometimes what looks like betrayal is actually the deepest form of loyalty. What seems like dishonor may be destiny in disguise. And when people dare to love through pain, truth has a way of rising, no matter how buried. Never judge a story when you've only heard one chapter. Behind every controversial decision, there might lie pain, promise, and a past that demands understanding over condemnation. Was the billionaire wrong to marry his late wife's younger sister? Or was he simply fulfilling a promise that most people wouldn't understand? Is love sometimes more complicated than right and wrong? We want to hear from you. Let us know in the comments. Was this a betrayal, or a beautiful act of loyalty? And if this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Your thoughts matter more than you know. We'll be reading every comment.